Dobro jutro svima. Vidim da se još neki učesnici priključuju događaju. Svakako imamo veliku publiku i veliko interesovanje za ovu temu. Ja sam Vukašin Grozdić, savjetnik predsjednice Vlade i kapaciteta u javnoj upravi, imajući u vidu da smo mi sa Ujedinjenim Arapskim Emiratima potpisali saradnju. Predsjednica Vlade je potpisala saradnju u Dubaju u maju ove godine i ovo je zapravo prvi korak, odnosno prva obuka u nizu koju ćemo imati u okviru ovog seminara i u okviru ove saradnje. Danas sa nama su uvaženi predstavnici i premijerskog kabineta iz Emirata, kao i drugi uvaženi gosti koji će sa nama danas razgovarati na temu liderstva i podeliti njihova iskustva kako to izgleda i kako se to radi u njihovoj zemlji. Važno je da samo jednu tehničku informaciju dam. Ispod na Zoomu se nalazi ovaj jedan mali globus gde piše prevod ili interpretation. Potrebno je da svi koji žele da slušaju na srpskom jeziku ovo predavanje, odnosno ovaj panel, uključe srpski jezik, a kasnije u drugom delu kada budemo imali vremena za pitanja, pošto ćemo imati oko 45 minuta za panel i 20 minuta na kraju za pitanja. Kada budete uključili to prevod na srpskom, možete govoriti najnormalnije kao ja sada na srpskom, a naše kolege iz Emirata će vas sve razumeti i oni će moći da vam odgovore, a tu su prevodioci da za nas urade ostatak posla. Kratko samo možda i da napomenem da živimo u vremenu u kome je trenutno možda i najvažnija stvar pitanje liderstva. I zato mi je drago da upravo danas imamo priliku da razgovaramo na ovoj temi. Liderstvo nije rezervisano samo za ljude na visokim položajima. Liderstvo nije ni rezervisano samo za ljude koji su na funkcijama. Mislim da svako od nas može biti lider u svojoj oblasti i bitno je da dajemo sve od sebe kako bismo bili najbolji u onome što radimo. Jer upravo je lider onaj kome se mi najčešće i obraćamo za neki savjet. Ako neko u nekom trenutku ima neku titulu i funkciju, to je oročeno, to je prolazno. Bitno je da li mi u tu osobu imamo poverenja, da li ona zna da obavlja posao koji je poveren i da li ćemo je naravno pitati kako to radi i šta mi da uradimo i kako da postupimo u toj situaciji. Tako da definitivno ono što svako od nas ima u sebi i tog lidera i tu moć koju svako nosi u sebi jeste da svakog dana u svom poslu dajemo najviše od sebe i da budemo najbolja verzija sebe. To nam niko ne može oduzeti, da stignemo na vreme na posao, da kao što ste se vi svi prijavili za ovaj kurs, dođete na kurs iako nije obavezan, odslušate, naučite nešto, neke stvari ste možda i znali, ali upravo zbog toga što ste ih i znali, sad ste ih ovde i utvrdili da ih radite na dobar način, da imate dobru percepciju. Ili ćete saznati nešto novo, promeniti percepciju i naprediti svoj rad. Veliko mi je zadovoljstvo da ćemo imati priliku da čujemo kako to rade naše kolege iz Emirata i da kasnije u narednim iteracijama dodatno razmenjujemo naše iskustvo, a da ćete vi i nastaviti da budete učesnici ovih panela. Ja ne bih predstavljao pojedinačno sada naše kolege, već bih to ostavio gospodinu Muhamedu da on to uradi. Molim vas, izvolite.
Thank you, Vincent. Good morning to our guests. And, good afternoon to our speakers here in the UAE. I would like to welcome you all to this panel discussion under the title Leaders of Tomorrow as part of the Serbia-UAE Experience Exchange Program on the development and modernization.
Program razmene dveju vlada Srbije i Emirata.
Development of the bilateral relations between the United Arab Emirates and the Republic of Serbia were initiated by mutual visits at the highest level, led by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, and His Excellency Alexander Vučić, President of the Republic of Serbia. On many occasions, actually, the two leaders explored the UAE-Serbia cooperation in investment, economic, and trade fields, as
polju ekonomije i trgovine, nauke i tehnologije,
renewable energy, space, among others. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed said that the UAE-Serbia relations are strong and continuing to grow, which covers several sectors. And today we are actually discussing a vital sector, building leaders' capability. But why? Why leadership is important, and who is a leader? I'd like to answer those questions by a quote of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, when he said leadership is a process of ongoing achievement and improving the lives of people. Anyone who masters knowledge is a leader, and anyone who achieves on the job is a leader. If you look at civil service as a mere job, you will be a mere employee. So carry out your work as a leader who loves his country, as a craftsman who is passionate about his craft, and as an artist who excels in his art. So having said that, I'd like to start by introducing our speakers for today, starting with Dr. Tarifa Zaabi, Director General, the International Center of Biosaline Agriculture. We also have Humaid Al-Shamsi, Corporate Planning and Performance Manager at the General Civil Aviation Authority. We also have Iman Hablil, Head of International and Strategic Partnerships at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and also President of the Youth Council at the Ministry. And also we have Aisha Swedi, Head of Special Projects and Executive Affairs at the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology, and also President of the Youth Council at the Ministry and a member of the Emirates Youth Council. And finally, your speaker, myself, Mohammed Al-Wahidi, Senior Engineer at the National Center of Metrology and Chairperson of the National SDGs Youth Council in the UAE. The format of today's discussion is a webinar. As my colleague Vukasin mentioned, interpretation is available. We'll dedicate the last 15 to 20 minutes of the session to answer your questions. So please feel free to write your questions in the chat throughout the session or at the end of the discussion. If your question is directed to a particular speaker, please mention his or her name. So starting with Dr. Tarifa, as a Director General, what are the key challenges that leaders face today and may face in the future?
Well, first of all, welcome everyone. I'm so delighted to be with you here today and to not only to share our own leadership experiences, but also to learn from each other, because I do believe that leadership is a continuous learning and continuous listening from each other to path the way in a better way. Back to your question, Brother Mohammed, what really makes the leader and the challenges face the leaders today is the changing nature of the world that we are living in. I'll share and I'll start with a close example that all of us experienced and we lived, which is the pandemic and the COVID-19. And the way it has really changed our life and the way we do business and the way we communicate and the way we connect and the way we look even at our impact and our achievements. So continuous changes is one of the challenges that are not anticipated and sometimes underestimated. That's something that we really need to pay attention for, which really help us develop resilience. And I think it's a very important factor for any leader in our days now. How can we really hit the ground hard, but we still stand fast and stand strong? And how can we really also focus on having a plan, and a plan that is really flexible and adaptable with all the changes that I mentioned? Besides that, being also accommodative to the different type of people we are really dealing with. So the challenge really remains, I would say, it keeps renewing itself, because we are dealing with different generations, we are dealing with different expectations, we are dealing with different perspectives. So I would see that from my perspective, the challenges are ongoing and they are really renewable, in a sense that every now and then we are hit by different surprises. But what makes us really solid and successful is how prepared we are emotionally and mentally in responding to these challenges.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Tarifa. And another question for you, Doctor. So as a former director of Dubai Women College and current mentor actually at the government leadership program, how do you develop leadership competencies and skills?
The word to success is always under construction, Mohammed. So, I mean, we are learning on day-to-day operations, I believe. One of the important things I would say, and qualities, is really listening. Listening twice as much as you can. You listen from the young people and you listen from the elderly people. You listen from the educated and uneducated. As my role is working globally in different countries, so I deal with the rich and the poor, and I deal with the people who are really underdeveloped and people who are really highly advanced and developed. So either ways, I still need to maintain listening. There are core values which are respecting the human. There are also the values of really mutual respect and knowing that we are complementing each other. Our roles and paths in life has been created where we only need to enrich each other and make each other better human beings. Similarly, when I used to work with youth, when I was in academia, young people are our future leaders. So you always need to keep on working with them and sharing knowledge with them, listening, reading, exploring, and respecting are the key values I would really vote for.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doctor. My next question is for you, Hamid, actually. So commenting on what, or continuing to what Dr. Tarifa mentioned. So in your opinion, what are the competencies that are needed to lead the future?
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. At the beginning, if you allow me, I want to express my ownership and pleasure to being here and exchange my experience and how the leadership in UAE developed. And regarding the question, at the beginning, if you wanted to have one understanding for leadership competencies, you have to identify the model or a framework for the people and for the leaders in the government. So our government, UAE government, developed and designed two or more than two, but mainly I'll talk about two models now here. One of them called the good role model, which is briefly collect or gather all the characteristic of the good leader and who should be a good role model for the others. And some of these characteristics, it's like being confident in yourself, being a good leader by example. Let people follow your good behavior. Also giving your entity or organization something unique. You have to be unique. If you are a leader, you have to be unique. The people will follow you if you give them something unique and impress them. In addition to that, I think this is one of the main characteristics should be in the leader. You should be humble. You have to communicate with the people and show the integrity of yourself. Respect them, treat them, and take care of your people, your team. These are some of the characteristics in the good role model. Also, there is another framework, or I can call it the umbrella of the government. It's called UAE Government Leadership Model, the GLM. It's divided to three categories. One of them, the leadership spirit and the future outlook and the achievement and impact. Here I'll focus about the impact, how the leader should deliver some results and having impact. In small scope or big scope, you have to deliver something. You have to show the people the impact that you did. You have to be, if we'll go to the future outlook, you have to be futuristic and seeing the future. Imagine, you have to be able to imagine the future and putting all scenarios for the future. You have to be open to different culture, different people, different ideas. Also the tolerance, how you have to be tolerant. Also, one additional character, I see it by myself, the good leader should have good health also, mental and physical health. You have to take care about your body, and to continue giving the organization, the country, the nation.
Great. Thank you so much, Hamid. In February 2016, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid actually declared the establishment of the Emirates Youth Council as the consultative branch of the UAE government focused on Emirati youth. The Emirates Youth Council, or the EYC, advises the government in setting policies and strategies, as well as launching and supporting initiatives focused on empowering and encouraging excellence in youth. The council actually allows the government to continuously listen to the views of youth, and the EYC consists of 7 members who represent the 7 different emirates in the United Arab Emirates, and headed by the president of the Federal Youth Authority. So my question is for you, Aisha, as a member of the Emirates Youth Council, what have you been exposed to so far? If you could share some examples, some initiatives, your experience.
Yeah. First of all, allow me to say that investing in youth is a national priority. Our late father, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, expressed it perfectly when he once said, a country's greatest investment is building generations of educated and knowledgeable youth. Our leaders have always placed a strong emphasis on the importance of youth engagement in the country's development. The establishment of Emirates Youth Council ensured that the country's vision and strengthening the collaboration between the new generation and the previous generations that worked on all the achievements that the country have reached to so far. Our role in the Emirates Youth Council is very unique. We had the privilege to look at one of the projects that we are currently working on is reviewing and amending some of the decrees and laws that were published since the establishment of the country. This is a huge project. We are the trust that they have in us to look at those decrees is a huge and precious. It is something unique that our country gives us this privilege to work on. Another thing that we had so far, being member of the Emirates Youth Council, we had, as you have seen, the government meetings that was last month. We had the privilege to be part of it. We participated in decision making, and this also gives us strength and how can I say it, believe more in ourselves and in our abilities.
So Aisha, in your opinion, how does actually youth involvement contribute to government success? And how did it shape their personalities? Actually, you mentioned that it gave you more trust in yourself, but how does youth involvement actually contribute to the government success?
Involving youth as partners in making decisions that affect us increase the likelihood that decision will be accepted, adopted, and become part of our daily lives. This is one of the steps that our government ensured to take. Empowering youth to identify and respond to community needs help us become empathetic, reflective individuals, setting us on course of potentially continuing the important work in the future. Meaningful youth engagement views youth as equal partners with adults in the decision-making process. Programs and activities that are developed with youth instead of for youth. In this kind of equal partnership, both adults and young people need to be fully engaged, open to change in how things are done, and share unified visions of the partnership. Engaging youth in developing the future of the country boosts us with confidence, resulting in shaping a more cooperative community with healthier and stronger families that have a unified vision and aim.
Great, Aisha. I liked the phrase that you used, working with youth rather than working for youth. Hamid, would you like to add something?
Yeah, if you allow me, in regard to this point exactly, I have a great example here in UAE government about how the leadership empower the youth. We have a decree or policy to let the organization of the UAE government, including a youth member and their board councils. So this is a privilege, a huge privilege for the youth here, and empowering them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Ahmed. So moving to the next title. So in Expo Dubai, and for the first time in the world, the UAE actually launched the youth empowerment model. That model actually identifies the concept of youth empowerment in a scientific and measurable manner. The model was generalized by the Federal Youth Authority in the first phase to more than 30 federal ministries, authorities, and institutions. And by decision from the UAE cabinet, these entities were obliged to follow the guide and calculate all indicators of youth empowerment. This actually leads me to my following question for you, Iman. You are working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, which was recognized by the Prime Minister as the best entity for youth empowerment in 2022. So in your opinion, what is the leadership role in empowering youth?
Thank you, Mohammed, for these questions. As part of my experience, the leadership have a critical role in enabling and empowering youth, and that by giving them trust, believing on them, and unlock the opportunities. I always mention this fact, and I would like to share this story of the UAE. UAE is still considered as a young country. If you go back to the establishment of the UAE diplomacy and the Ministry of...
Kada je od država osnovana i kad su naše institucije osnovane, dakle, naši organi su jednostavno postavile fondaciju za saradnju mladih ljudi od kada je naša država osnovana, a to je 1973. godine, i jedan veliki broj naših ambasada.
And they were only 26 years old. So basically they were really a graduate students who hold those positions, and they the leadership give them that trust to establish and lead.
Dali poverenje da uspostavljaju užasno važne kontakte sa ostatkom sveta. Znači, dali smo veru, položili smo veru.
Nowadays, more than 50% of our diplomats around the world are youth, and most of them are handling very critical files, plus leadership positions, like His Excellency Sheikh Shahbout, the Minister Shahbout bin Hayyan al-Hayyan, the Minister of State, who is appointed to handle African files, and that is the same in EU countries are the most, where the most of our ambassadors are less than 35 years old. And the UAE team who's handling the UN Security Council files during our term are mainly youth who are experts and trained, well-trained. The youth in our institutions were experienced, and they structure under the leadership supervisions and mentorship to handle critical files from early age. Those are the impacts of the leadership strategy, which aim the empowerment of youth in our institutions. And that was one of the reasons that led to the latest recognitions by the Prime Minister to be the best entity for the youth empowerment in 2022.
Thank you, Iman, for sharing such interesting information. So, Dr. Tarifa, as a top leader, would you like to add on that, please?
I would like to build on what has been said, Hamad. Two key things I heard, and they're music to my ears, to be honest. One is really trust. And I think without the trust, we cannot do anything. I mean, it's not really saying this is a young person and this person doesn't have the experience and doesn't have the knowledge, and therefore trust is questionable. I think UAE has shown us a great example of the example that also Iman mentioned about success stories of how trust that has been given to young people had paid us really in the right place. Another thing that has been already mentioned also is working with the young people and not working for the young people. Because again, we're speaking about this generation merge. So we are all in it together. If we do have objectives, we've got to reach those objectives together. I think it has been a bit of an older school when you say that we are pathing the way for the youth. The youth are with us, the youth is us. So there is, and they are part of what we do. And I think we do things hand in hand together.
Great. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Dr. Taiba. So my next question is for Hamid. As a founding member of Hamdan bin Mohammed Award for Smart Government and also as an assessor for the Mohammed bin Rashid Award for Government Excellence, what are you looking for when actually assessing participants at the different awards that you have been part of? And how do you identify leaders?
Wow, great. I'll divide your question, Mohammed, to two parts. At the beginning, as one of the team member who work on Hamdan bin Mohammed Award for Smart Government in Dubai government, it was like a challenge for us to continue the improvement of the services in Dubai government. So we came up with the idea of recognition for the leaders who are responsible about accelerate the improvement in the services and move the government to the higher position. So we came up with the idea of the award in 2013. We identified two categories for the leaders. One for the best leader in smart government, who are responsible about the transition in the government, a digital government. And the second one for the team leader who responsible about the whole improvement in the organizations in Dubai government. Exactly. It was like a very happy journey to see all the progress, see all the potential in these leaders. The second part about the SKGB or Sheikh Khalifa Award, I was as an assessor and the jury member in this award. Let me share with you a story from internally from the assessment factory. When we see all the candidates, actually the organization did some filtration internally before they nominate their leaders for any award. This is like a practice here. All the candidates are great leaders. So we have to decide who is deserving to be the ambassador for the excellence and having the ownership of having the picture with Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid on the stage. So it was like a very challenge, and we debate a lot. And we already have criteria, we have everything. The competition was very high. And choosing the best leader, it was very challenging for us. But at the end, we hope we chose the right leaders. All of the candidates who are leaders, but we need to choose the best leader from them. I will summarize these 2 points in like a 4 lesson learned for whoever want to improve or develop the leadership in their organization. The recognition of the leaders or the team members even, it's very important. You have to not only punish them if they are doing something bad, but you have to recognize them if they are doing something good. Also, being a good role model for the others is one of the most important things for who will be recognized, because it's like the spotlight will be on them. So you have to choose the right one. The engagement of the leadership, and all of us here in UAE, we can see that. Our top leadership and chairs here in UAE are engaged in this process, in the excellence and choosing the right leaders. They are empowering them by these awards. The passion, this is, I will conclude my answer. The passion in the leaders, this is one of the main things we saw in their eyes when we interviewed them. So I hope I answered your question, Mohammed.
Yes, very well. Thank you, Ahmed. Aisha, you are also working as head of special projects and executive affairs at the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology. So what are the key initiatives and their impact on assuring our readiness for the future?
I will not talk specifically about the ministry, but I will talk in general about the federal government or the government itself. Vision 2071 was mainly driven by the fact that the new industrialization and diversified economy can be achieved successfully if we placed more importance on a human capital development, and we put it as a top priority. In the education sector, for instance, policymakers developed policies that prioritize focus on preparing graduates with highly demanded skills in the global industry. Going back to the quote that I mentioned earlier of the late Sheikh Khalifa, a country's greatest investment is building generations of educated and knowledgeable youth. Any development that you see in the country is because of the focus we have today on the education and the education quality. The education quality has been an important focus of the human capital goals for the UAE. National universities achieved a significant improvement in education quality because of curriculum reforms that were directed by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and we have seen it in the government meetings lately. We have attracted a lot of universities from across the globe to be here and to present themselves in our country, in the UAE, to open branches here. Having those campuses of internationally known universities located in the UAE has also played a role, especially in terms of local competition across universities. I would like to add one more point that we have seen at the launch of the new UAE 20, We Are the UAE 2031, the newly launched vision in November 2022. This is also boosting efforts to increase participation of the private sector and how important it is, and engaging the private sector in decision-making, bringing or helping the local laborers by motivating them to compete with expertise and improve their skills at international standards. All of those initiatives that the country is working on currently and have been working on previously made us one of the countries that develop very fast.
Yeah, that's interesting. So also, Iman, you are also president of the Youth Council at the ministry. So how did the council contribute to driving change in the organization and developing leaders for the future?
So, Mohammed, our council launched in 2018 by the decree from His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE Foreign Minister. Since the first year, we adopt a unique methodology to manage the youth file in our ministry under the blessing and the full support of our leadership. We were open for, they were open for us, their doors, and provide us with all resources needed. Our methodologies that we followed, we first start understanding the audience and the need of our youth at the ministry. We conducted a periodic survey to understand the challenges of the generations and their needs, their interests, and emergent skills needed for their development, which were combined of soft skills like a public speaking, negotiations, and this is a critical skills in our work, to leadership skills and more specific or specialized courses. Then we studied and conducted a benchmark of the national and relevant strategy and national and international strategies, agenda, policies related to youth empowerment, and that helped us to be aware of the emergent trend, vision, and goals. We design our strategy and identify main pillars based on those two inputs, ensuring the alignment of our work with our leadership vision. We were reviewing our strategy, or we are reviewing our strategy annual base to be updated and make sure that it's adapt all changes happening around us. Especially in our works, there's a lot of things that happen that could be tweak or twist the strategies that we are following. From there, we launched a number of initiatives and programs that aim for youth empowerment in MOFA and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And we measure the progress and the output of those programs and initiatives. One of the main principles that our leadership asks us to follow is coming up with sustainable initiative that could be institutionalized in the next phase of the implementation. Here we work with the relevant department, such as the development unit, the policy planning, to ensure that our programs are realistic and has a meaning. And this is part of the engagement with the youth here in the ministry. The youth, the youth in our ministry are decision makers and part of the decision-making process. As part of also our leadership directions, we have a policy to allocate a seat of the Youth Council in most of the task force and committees at the ministry. And that part of the leadership vision to ensure the engagement of youth in the decision-making process, as I mentioned earlier. You mentioned the launch of the youth empowerment model that announced in December last year. The model is designed to measure and ensure the youth empowerment in the UAE federal entities by highlighting 6 pillars. Entities should drive the initiatives and behavior across those 6 areas to create environment for the youth to bloom. All pillars are critical to unlocking the boundless value that could be generated by youth. The Youth Empowerment Index will allow us to quantify, measure, and monitor the youth empowerment and support continuous improvement for the government achievement in this field. The UAE leadership want to ensure the accountability, learning, and development of the youth and nature of an environment in which they will lead to the future in their entities. Again, our Youth Council adjusts at the Youth Council at the ministry. We adjust our strategy to ensure that we cover all 6 pillars. And of course, we work closely with the relevant entity at the ministry. One of those pillars, and I will not mention all of them, are the development. The development pillar is including the enhancement of youth capacity, our capability, and performance. We design a package that take into considerations different levels and phases that our youth are going through during their journey, which include the training program that we launch that designed for the team leaders who are managing small units. Then we have different leadership program, one of them designed for the elite of the youth, of our youth, who will have competencies to hold a leadership position in early stage. We also launch a unique program. It's called the mentorship program. It's really, for me, it's really close to my heart because the program where we were matched during the program, we matched the junior diplomat with the leadership from us. They were minister level, undersecretary, secretary assistant, director level, and ambassadors who allocate their times for those young diplomats to guide them and mentorship them during their career development. We also launched something called Diplomacy in Action series, which is an informal and unrecorded setup. It allows the leadership and the youth to have an open dialogue, exchanging their thoughts, a design actually, to be honest, to allow the leadership to share comfortably their journey with and even the challenges that they faced with the youth in our ministry and inspire them. As you know, our field is a bit sensitive, and there are stories that never been told. That's why even in the social media, you will not see anything related to those series, because it's really cozy and close sessions with the leadership. We host a number of ministers and ambassadors, directors who were there since the beginning of the launch or the structure of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I hope that we could see this, those practices and initiatives also applied at all the entities, the government and their local or federal entities. So my last question for you, Dr. Tarifa, how can leaders ensure alignment in the organization towards a shared vision?
Sure, Mohammed. It's a very simple formula, at least from my own personal experience. We have tasks we want to achieve, and we have people who will be and who shall supposed to be leading these tasks and jobs to be done. And we do have the shared vision that we suppose to lead us to the existence of our organizations and the impact that we need to create locally or globally. So how can I create that kind of a recipe which will bring the people to do the task in the best way that will give me the impact that we are looking for? There are a number of things that we need to do. However, I will be summarizing them in 4 points. First of all, is we need to clarify expectations. Similarly to when we have people, they need to have a job description, they need to understand what is really required from them. So we need to match people with the task and ensure that there is no ambiguity about the task they are doing. Secondly, we need to enhance our communication. Again, sometimes we say a lot that many things fall in translation. We need to make sure that what we say is really understood. And also as leader, we need to walk the talk. We have to be role models and we have to be examples for our employees to see how are we really reacting to different situations. So communication is very much crucial, and it has to be precise and it has to be clear. We need to measure impacts. If we don't have tools or techniques for us to measure the impacts, I think it will be a free ride. Everybody will be doing their own, so they wouldn't really be expecting anything. So we have to have a very clear also expectation on what are we going to measure and how are we going to measure the work to give us the result we need. And I've heard Ahmed saying that earlier, we need to celebrate. It's not only about punishing people who do not really work, it is about behavioral modification. How can really I ensure that I win people by example? If I reward one person, I'm giving a message to the other 10 more that if you do something good, it will really be impacted and will be shared with the rest. So with all those 4 recipes, I think passion makes it happen. People need to see us, that we like them, we love what we do, and we enjoy what we do. Otherwise, it becomes pretty much like a role play or a show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tarifa. And thanks to all the speakers for the insights. So let's start taking the audience questions before ending. I could see something from Christina, but I'm not sure if it's a question. Could the interpreter help us?
You can check the questions from the Q&A box.
Yeah, there is something in Serbian. I'm not sure if this is just an instruction for the audience or is it a question?
It's an instruction.
Okay. So the first question from Dragan: how difficult is it for the public administration in the UAE to attract the young talents and to recruit them compared to the private sector? Who would like to answer?
Start.
Please, Aisha.
Okay, so I wouldn't say it's difficult. The trust we have from our leadership, it is precious. Everyone have seen how much they are investing in us, how much they are pushing us to do our best to show what our capabilities are. This has driven all youth, not only the youth from 18 to 35. I'm talking about the young generations, the kids I'm talking about. Today we have, as you know, I'm working with His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, who is also the Special Envoy for Climate Change. We have kids of 8 and 9 years old reaching us out to be representatives of the UAE for COP28. Imagine how this feels. People are not pushed to do this. They feel engaged, they feel empowered, they want to do more, they want to serve the country. They have seen what is the difference they are making when they step out and speak and work for the country, for the government. That's all I have. You can shift to another panelist.
Yes, exactly, Aisha. And I think it's actually the challenge now is how to influence youth to work at the private sector. So that's the challenge actually that we have now. Please, Dr. Tarifa, I think you want to add something.
Yeah, I wanted to add, in fact, about the private sector. Speaking of the private sector, I mean, if you can see, the government is doing continuous assessment to address the gap and the expectation between the government and private sector, whether when it comes to the pay scale, when it comes to leave days, when it comes to the incentives. So we've seen so many initiatives now from the governments where they are also rewarding the private sector for attracting and retaining Emiratis and national calibers. So there are really great efforts. There are so much of initiatives that's happening in the country to, I would say, to have the youth working in the private sector. And this also started from the education, given the fact that I was previously working in academia. We do have the internship, we do have the guest speakers, we do have lecturers, we have so many role models coming from the private sector to speak to students as well and make the private sector a place that they will be interested in working. There is also the international field, which is where I do work. It's not private, it's not public, but it is on the international arena. And we've really seen so many young people now from the UAE representing the country in different international organizations. So we do have the support from the government. We do have the support on the ground. When I was appointed, I mean, I was blessed to have His Highness, the President, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, visiting me in the center. So that's itself the biggest pat on the shoulder that you can get just to motivate you and path the way for you further.
Thank you, Dr. Tarifa. Hamid, I think also you'd like to add.
Yeah, in a quick, Mohammed, they would like to add, we are working right now in the strategy for the coming years in the civil aviation. Around 10% of the programs and the initiatives for the coming years is working to how to attract the people or the leaders who are interested in the civil aviation to attend, and providing them with the right tool from the early stages, from the educational even. We have a partnership with the schools, with the government, with the universities to empower these leaders for the future.
Yes, thank you, Hamid. So Dragan, hope we answered your question. The next question for Iman. How do you measure the progress and results of the work on the development of young leaders? In which ways?
So basically, we do have a set of KPIs to measure, and under each initiatives and programs and under each pillar that we are adopting in our strategy, that measure the progress or measure if we achieve the aim of those projects or not. It's around, and there is a KPIs actually set by the Prime Minister Office within the model of the youth empowerment policies in the federal entities. It's around 120 KPIs. Each pillars has their own weight. Like one of the pillars is the voice of youth. Are we improving or share or give them an opportunity to speak and engage? It's around 20% of the weight or the scale of the overall pillars. And then we do have recognitions that has 15% purpose, 10% the guidance and mentorship programs that we are implementing. It has certain or 15%. The development takes 20%, and the opportunity also has 20%. Those that way, we do have a set of those KPIs that we are trying to measure, and then we conduct a survey, anonymous survey to the youth to ensure that they got what we are telling them or what we are planning or announcing. So for example, if there is development progress or achievement, leadership programs, do they know about it? Do they, are they engaged in those programs or not? So basically giving them an opportunity to get and evaluate the projects that are designed for them. Then we do have a bigger methodologies or even a platforms. It's a joint platform for all UAE entities or federal entities designed by the Human Resources, the Ministry of Human Resources Authority. It's measure or take the numbers or capture the percentage of the youth who's engaged in different programs based on those pillars. So it's really organized or even clear measurement process that conducted annually. So based on the model that design, I can share with you even, it's an open source. All entities can download the surveys, understand the pillars, understand the KPIs under each pillar. I can put it in the chat box for everyone to benefit from it. It's really, you can download the full manual, the full projects, examples, the descriptions, and even how to measure and the youth models or the youth, your progress and in managing the youth file.
Great, thank you, Iman. Yes. Okay, I believe we don't have any more questions.
Mohammed, I think there is a question in the Q&A. Not in the chat box, it's in the Q&A.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Are there differences in the challenges of the future in relation to male and female leaders? How can we empower women to accept leadership roles to a greater extent and to feel good in that role? Thanks. So, well, you can see that
Yeah.
the panel is women. So, yeah, please, if anyone would like to answer.
We shall keep this one for Ahmed, since he did.
I agree.
Maybe I'm facing some challenges. No, I'm kidding. Actually, no, the empowerment of, we facing some challenges in finding some female in specific sectors. So we are empowering them for the future, like for civil aviation. It's a sector internationally. It's a lake. There is a rare of female in the sector. So we empowering them. We want to see the female more and more. I think our government in UAE, most of the leadership are female. So I don't think there is a challenge. And how we can accept them, I think we accept each other. We accept the changes in everyone, in every human, not female and male.
And it's based actually on skills and on capabilities and competencies rather than gender. Aisha, would you like to add something?
Talking about the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology, we are proudly announcing that we have 68% of our employees females. You know, there are like few things the government have not enforced or requested the ministries to work on, such as having the nurseries in the workplace. This give us more freedom. Like if a female employee has kids, she will feel safe that her kids are near to her, even if they are days old, let's say. Such differences such policies can make difference in attracting women and being more comfortable achieving or achieving the goals they have, and also reaching more powerful positions. We have 3 of our undersecretaries females. We have 7 out of 10 directors that are females in our ministries. Almost 90% of our section heads are females. So empowering women is working on the right direction.
Yes, Iman, would you like to add something in short word, please?
We do have we are giving an equal opportunities for both women and men in the field of international relations. We do have around 50% of our diplomats are female, especially with the new joiners, who's mainly really passionate, knowledgeable, very skilled. They are really willing to work this field, especially that in our field it's a bit it's the nature of our field is a bit different, where you have to be posted in difficult countries and certain critical files. So you will see the UAE ambassador and the Security Council who's handling the Security Council, Her Excellency Rana Nusayba, the first female who's handling these positions. Our ambassador in Paris and France, which is really a strategic relationship with the country, is a female, Her Excellency Hind Al-Utaiba, and others. And we do have a lot of females are working and representing the UAE, even in African countries, in different environments. They are there, they are work, and they are smart, and we do have that. We never evaluate them based on their gender. But also, as Aisha mentioned, we are providing them with certain specific needs. Like, for example, the nursery, for example, it's there, it's closed. We do have a nursery at the ministry. For the pregnant, there is a special parking for the pregnant close to the door. So, you know, those, and we do have women room at the ministry just to serve her needs whenever she needed, as a mother, as a wife. So we tackle those things.
Thank you, Iman. Dr. Tarifa?
I just want to conclude what has been mentioned, and we have mentioned in our sessions as well, that leaders usually celebrate success. And this is what the United Arab Emirates have done with the women. We do have, our leadership have already assigned the 29th of August of every year as an Emirati Women's Day. And this is really to celebrate the role of women, and also to become role models to inspire other women, and also to celebrate the success in that regard.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Next question. How can we incorporate leadership techniques in our workplace if we are not on a leader position? Yes, Doctor, please.
I just want to say that leaders are human by the end of the day. I don't think titles make us leaders. I think our personalities and our values, what make us leaders, whether we were in the position or we weren't in the position. I think it's each one of us is a leader on our day-to-day operation, through the values we carry, through the goodwill we have, and how can we really want to see ourselves contributing, growing, and creating an impact. So this is really the recipe that all of us should have it, with or without a title.
Thank you, Dr. Tarifa. The next question, is it easier for rich countries to establish a youth empowerment agenda, or poorer countries can have success in achieving that goal with the same output as in the UAE?
I can answer this one. So basically, it really came from the leadership vision and understanding of the manpower that they do have in their countries. So basically, they have to understand that if they are investing in education, in the health systems, and the integrations of youth, that means you are utilizing more than 50% of your nationality, or the people who lives in your country, in your land. So that is increasing and blooming even the economy, providing them, if it's not in the government sector or public sectors, could be in the private sectors. And there is a lot of online platforms that it's well established in different countries that have some challenges, but it's really successful stories that could be told to the other countries and set a bar to the other countries. And so I think that really it's about the vision of the leadership. We have a lot of really amazing stories, even in African countries, that we visit and we work closely with. So if that happened, that ticked the box.
Thank you, Iman. Hamid, you'd like to add something? Or?
I just would like to confirm what Iman said. Also, we can see examples from rich country, and they are not empowering their youth. So it doesn't depend on the GDP of the country. It depends on the vision of the leadership from the top to the down.
Yes, exactly, Hamid. And just to wrap on that question, when I was a youth delegate at the UN, actually, I'm not saying that because I'm in this discussion, but the Serbian youth delegates were among the most active youth delegates there, actually. So moving to the next question, do you have a body that approves, accredits youth programs and lecturers? I think, yeah, Aisha, maybe you can answer in short words.
Yeah, we do have two entities mainly focused on those areas, the Ministry of Youth and Culture and the Federal Youth Authority. They are entitled of those things.
Yes, exactly. So we have a minister actually dedicated for youth affairs and also a federal authority. The last question, is there a single model that can be standardized when making decisions in stressful situations or situations where decisions are made under various types of pressure, so that any decision has as few negative consequences as possible? Who would like to go forward? Yes, Doctor, please.
I would say there is a model called no model. This no model, to me, in my opinion, is about resilience. Again, we need to be flexible, we need to be adaptable, and we need to evaluate the situation. And I think this is the key. I mean, maybe they're not really a model as much as they are the key characteristics where you can really evaluate a difficult situation and come up with a recipe as a leader in your organization.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hamid.
I think after the pandemic of COVID, there is all the leaders are working under the stress and pressure now.
Yes, exactly. So I would like, before ending, to hear an advice or a message by each speaker to the audience in very short words. What is your advice for the leaders of tomorrow, starting with you, Dr. Tarifa?
My advice is what I tell myself daily. I am a leader and I have a good cause and I have to make an impact. I am a positive person and I contribute to the humanity, and I will continue doing that to the last day of my life. And I think this is our obligations, if that somebody will follow.
Thank you, Doctor. And Aisha, in short word, please.
I would say, let the session be a stepping stone towards a rewarding career path, a rewarding future. Push yourself. Do not settle for what is there, but reach out for what can be.
Thank you, Aisha. Hamid?
My last advice, it's from our UAE founder, Sheikh Zayed Allah Yarhamah. It's giving. The human being deserve more. So sustain your giving, continue your giving. give the humanity and the nations more and more.
Thank you, Hamid. And finally, Iman.
So for the policymakers, youth empowerment is a long-term investment led to prepare the youth leader, the future leader, to build their confidence to do more. The youth file itself is a science itself. We need to have a concrete vision, and one template doesn't fit all. However, some principles are fundamental. For the youth who are joining us, keep your passion, and be aware of the emerging trends, invest in you and utilize in your energy, capacities, and work in your development to give back to your country.
Thank you, Iman. So at the end of this wonderful and fruitful discussion, I'd like to thank the organizers from the UAE, the Government Leadership Program, and from Serbia, the National Academy for Public Administration. Also, I extend my gratitude to the speakers and to the audience. We in the UAE wish all the best for the Serbian people and look forward for a long-lasting cooperation. And as His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid said, the future belongs to those who imagine it, design it, and execute it. It's not something you wait, but rather you create. Thank you all. Augustine, you would like to mention something?
So only a few words for the end. Thank you very much for this presentation and this conversation and this lesson that we received from you. We were really pleasured to have people talk to us who have a lot of experience and people who are very familiar with this topic. I would just like to mention the most important things about this session and what I'm left with after this lesson. As you said, our times are very unprecedented and unexpected, which means that the leaders must be prepared not to walk the trodden path, but be actually prepared to be flexible and adjust to the situations that come. This is something that the COVID pandemic showed us. What we also heard is that the leaders should lead by example, should be humble and be prepared to talk to everyone in their organization and provide advice and assistance to everyone. And what you mentioned and emphasize very often is education and advancement of own skills, which is exactly the principle of operation of our center. I would like to thank all the panelists and the cabinet of the Prime Minister of UAE, which helps us in our cooperation, as well as the National Academy for Public Administration for their support, so that our state officials could advance themselves. Additionally, I have a plea for the panelists at the end. There is a link at the chat which the colleagues from the National Academy sent, where you can give your impressions relating to today's panel. Thank you again. This is the first panel of the sort that we organized, and I hope there will be more panels and more invitations, and hopefully we'll see each other on other topics again. Thank you everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.